On December 11, 2008, the largest financial fraud in human history collapsed. $65 billion. Gone. Not stolen in a heist. Not taken at gunpoint. Handed over willingly. By some of the most sophisticated investors in the world. Over a period of 17 years. The man behind it was Bernie Madoff, former chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, pillar of the Jewish philanthropic community, and the most trusted name on Wall Street. He confessed to his sons on a Thursday evening. By Friday morning, he was under arrest. This is the story of how he did it and why everyone who should have caught him didn't. Bernie Madoff built his reputation over decades. He founded his investment firm in 1960, at age 22, with $5,000 he'd saved from working as a lifeguard and installing sprinkler systems. He was a genuine pioneer. His firm was one of the first to use electronic trading systems. He helped build what would become the Nasdaq. He served as its chairman 3 times. By the 1980s, his investment advisory business had become the most sought after on Wall Street. You couldn't just walk in and give Madoff your money. You had to be invited. You had to know someone. The exclusivity was part of the product. Hedge funds, charities, universities, sovereign wealth funds all wanted in. He promised consistent returns. Not spectacular returns. Not 50% per year. Just steady, reliable, slightly better than market returns, year after year, regardless of market conditions. 12% annually. Every year. Up or down market. That consistency was the con. A Ponzi scheme is simple in concept. You take money from new investors to pay returns to old ones. There is no actual investment. The money just circulates as long as new money keeps coming in faster than old money goes out. Madoff's scheme was the largest ever run because he had 3 things nobody else had. Legitimacy. He was a real, successful person. His market-making business was genuine. His reputation was real. He wasn't a stranger promising impossible returns. He was Bernie Madoff, former Nasdaq chairman, whose firm handled billions in legitimate trading. Exclusivity. Because you had to be invited, investors felt privileged to be included. Privilege reduces scrutiny. When something is hard to get into, we assume it must be worth getting into. Plausibility. 12% annually sounds believable. It's not 100% per year, the number that triggers fraud alarms. It's just slightly better than the index. Over time. Reliably. The genius of the con was its modesty. His back office, the actual Ponzi operation, was run out of a separate floor of his building. The legitimate trading business was on the 18th and 19th floors. The fraud was on the 17th. His back office staff were mostly loyal long-term employees who processed fake trade confirmations. The statements sent to investors showed trades that never happened, in securities that were never purchased. For 17 years, the fake statements went out. The returns showed up. Nobody looked closely. Harry Markopolos tried to tell the SEC for 9 years. Markopolos was a financial analyst who was asked by his employer to reverse engineer Madoff's strategy to figure out how Madoff was generating such consistent returns so they could replicate it. He spent 4 hours with the numbers. Then he called his boss and said, "This is either the world's largest Ponzi scheme or it's front-running. Either way, it's fraud." He submitted a detailed report to the SEC in 2000. The SEC investigated and found nothing. He resubmitted in 2001. Again in 2005, with a 19-page document titled "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud." The SEC investigated again. And again found nothing. Markopolos later told Congress, the SEC was thoroughly compromised. Madoff was a major player. They were afraid of him. The fraud ended not because of investigators. It ended because of the 2008 financial crisis. When markets crashed in September and October 2008, investors needed their money back. Redemption requests poured in $7 billion in a matter of weeks. Madoff didn't have $7 billion. He had been running on fumes for years. On December 10, 2008, he told his sons Mark and Andrew that the investment advisory business was all just one big lie. His sons, who worked in the legitimate trading division and claimed to know nothing, called a lawyer. The lawyer called the FBI. The next morning, agents knocked on Madoff's door. His first words, "There is no innocent explanation." He pleaded guilty to 11 counts of fraud, money laundering, and theft. Sentenced to 150 years in prison. He died there in 2021, at age 82. The Madoff fraud destroyed lives on a scale that statistics can't capture. Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize winner, lost his entire foundation's assets. $15 million. Gone. Thousands of retirees lost their life savings. Some in their 70s and 80s who had no ability to recover. At least 2 people connected to the fraud committed suicide. Mark Madoff, Bernie's son, hanged himself on the 2nd anniversary of his father's arrest. He was 46 years old. The Madoff case is ultimately a story about the failure of oversight. The SEC had the evidence. Harry Markopolos handed it to them, meticulously documented, multiple times. They didn't act. Why? Institutional capture. Madoff was too important. Too connected. Too respected. The people who should have investigated him had professional relationships with him. Had attended his parties. Hoped to work for his firm after leaving government. This is called regulatory capture, when the institutions meant to police an industry become too close to the industry to police it. It happens in finance. In healthcare. In media. In government. And it means that the last defense against large-scale fraud is often not the regulator. It's the whistleblower. Harry Markopolos was ignored for 9 years. He kept going anyway. That stubbornness, anonymous, unrewarded, for nearly a decade is the thing that ultimately mattered. Subscribe. New case every Friday.